Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph. In today's video, we're going to be adding a sky to this image. This I shot in the studio a while back. I have the behind the scenes on my channel. I'm going to link it up here. You can check it out. And I'm going to be using Adobe Photoshop 2021 for this tutorial. So if you have anything below that, you are not going to be able to access the sky replacement tool because it's only available in Adobe Photoshop 2021. I also know that there's this Lumina 4 software that you can use to replace skies or add skies to your images, but that's like another software that you need to have, and this is already inbuilt into Photoshop. So I believe it's a simpler process. Another thing too is I also have a video where I showed you guys how to simply add skies to your images, but looking at what this software or this new tool does, it's made that process a little bit cumbersome, and that is why I'm doing this video. So that one I showed you like the whole process. You have to go into Google to look for like clouds that are going to be suitable for your image, download them, import them into Photoshop, mask out your subject or whatever, and then put a sky into it. But this already has clouds uploaded into the tool. You can just click and it's going to do the replacing for you, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So starting off, what I want to do is go into edit, and I'm going to come down here where you see sky replacement, and that's a single tool that we're going to be using today. So click on sky replacement tool, and it's going to open up this new dialog box which has a lot of sliders. I'm going to go through all of them and show you what they do. But starting off, you can see that Photoshop is already rendering because what it's doing in the background is it's cutting out my subject, adding a mask, and then adding the sky into the background. And as you can see, it's already done a very good job at picking a particular sky and then putting it in there. I'm going to click this drop down icon and show you that we have actually close this folder and show you we have blue skies, we have spectacular skies, and sunsets. This image was shot on a blue background, so obviously images with blue skies are going to work well, but let me just show you how dramatic this software is by putting in like a sunset, and you can see it kind of works well if this is the style that you're going for, but basically it doesn't look too realistic. You can also go down a little bit and let's see on the sky like this, and because it's already done the masking, it's just replacing the clouds with what is like whatever I click on, right? So if I close the sunset and go into spectacular, click on this rainbow version, for example, you'd see that it's going to add a rainbow into the image. If I click on this one with the colorful skies, you can see quickly it's been able to add that, and it kind of matches her outfit even, but this is not what we're looking for. I just want to use blue skies. I was just going through these options to show you that you have all those already. There's also a plus icon here if you want to upload your own sky. So maybe you can go out one day where there's a beautiful sky and then photograph all these amazing skies for yourself, and then you can see it's open up the system on my software. So if I had like clouds in here somewhere, I can just navigate to that particular folder and then import it into Photoshop, and it's gonna be there for me anytime I want it. Alright, so what I want to do now is just click on any of these blue skies, and I believe this is what it shows for me in the beginning, so I'm just gonna stick with that because it works well. Actually, let me just show you what this blue sky also looks like. This is also not too bad, but okay, let me click on this other sky. You can see the options are a lot, and it's giving me different views, but again, I'm just gonna stick with this sky because it seems to work well, especially with the focal length that I was shooting with. I shot this with my 24-70 and I was at 70 millimeters for this particular shot. So again, I'm looking at the compression. One other thing I also want to look at is going to be the direction of the light. Now the way I shot this image, I used two lights. So I have one light coming in from the side, so it's going to make the blending a little bit easier, and also I can fake another direction of light from that side, so it could be that the sun was showing through at that point. I think I'm also going to look at is going to be the shadow direction, and because this light was soft, we have a very diffuse shadow, so the clouds and the sky I've chosen actually work well with this particular image. Okay, so what we can do is click the flip in case the lighting in the clouds doesn't match your image. You can click the flip and it's going to flip it horizontally, but in this case this doesn't work for my image, so I'm going to uncheck that and it's going to revert to where it was initially. So what we're going to do now is just go through some of the sliders. So we can shift the edge to the left, and what it's going to do is it's just going to open up the edges, so you see we can't see the clouds as much. If I move it to the right, you can see it's going to add more of the sky into the image. It's even going to seep it into our image, and this isn't what we're looking for. So I'm just going to go back a little bit. We just needed to you know, seep into our image a little bit so it blends well, but not too much so it's so obvious that that's what we're doing. All right, so somewhere around here looks great. I'm going to go into the fade edge. If I move it to the left, you can see that it's making the edges a little bit more defined and crisp, but I want it to be soft because if I shot this outdoors, that's how it's going to look. So shifting the edge to the right just helps with the blending a little bit, and that pretty much is where I want it to be. Now the next thing I'm going to look at is going to be the sky adjustments. We can increase the brightness, so moving the slider to the right, you can see it's making it brighter. Moving it to the left, it's just going to make it darker and add a little bit more of a mood to it, but I want to brighten it a little bit, so I'm just brightening somewhere like that. And you can also just uncheck the preview to show you where we started from and where we are now. So if I show you the before, you can see that the blue was really dark, and if I again darken the brightness, you can see that it's going to match pretty much what we had initially, but it's also fading it out, and that's not what I want. I want the colors to be brighter and a little bit crisper. In this case, making it brighter works well for this image, right? Okay, we can also change the temperature. So if I move it to the left, you can see that it's going to add more blue to it. If I move it to the right, it's going to add more yellow. In this case, because again our original shot had a lot of blue in it, it only makes sense for me to just add or pump in a little bit more blue into the image. So somewhere around here, maybe minus 35 is going to work well. We can also change the scale of the clouds. So if I move to the right a tiny bit, you can see that we've increased the size of the clouds, but this is beginning to look too big. It's not flattering my image. I'm just going to go back to where I was in the beginning, and somewhere around here is going to work. Let me just increase it a little bit. All right, so this little zoom in works. So you see you have all these flexibilities inside of the sky replacement tool, and we're not even done yet. All right, now you can close the sky adjustments group and then look at the foreground adjustments. So now the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be the lighting mode. You can adjust it from you can look at multiply, which is going to add a little bit more contrast, which pretty much looks good, or you can make it a screen blending mode, which is just going to feather the clouds into our subject. So just going back and forth. So this is screen, this is multiply. I think multiply makes it stand out a little bit too much. So I'm not really going for that. I think I like the screen effects because it's making the image a little bit softer as well. What I want to do now is adjust the lighting. So if I move it to the right, you can see that it's gonna just make everything a little bit hazy and brighter, which is not too bad. It looks like a flare got into my lens. If I move to the left, it's gonna decrease that and make it more contrasty, taking us back to what the multiply mode was giving us. But I'm gonna keep it around maybe 41, just make it a tiny bit brighter. All right, we can also adjust the color. So if I move it to the left, you can see we've adjusted the color. If I move it to the right, you can see it's just a little bit. So somewhere around here is going to work well for me. So now we're going to be outputting our image, and what I want to do is show you the options inside of the output. So here we have two options. You can output everything onto brand new layers, or you can output it into a duplicate layer. So it's going to merge everything and put it on one layer. But because in Photoshop we always want to work non-destructively, I'm going to choose new layers and press OK. So what this is going to do is it's just going to put everything that I have done, all the adjustments I've made inside that tool into a group, and inside that group we're going to have access to all the options that we adjusted in there. So you can see there's a layer mask. If I just alt click, you can see this is the layer mask that it created for us, and this is also the sky that is added into the image for us. So if I just hide that, you can see it's there, it's non-destructive. You can go inside and even make further adjustments. So what I want to do now is just click on my sky layer mask, alt click on it, and it's going to bring up the adjustment layer. And what I want to do is just go inside a little bit with my brush tool. So B for my brush tool, and I want to paint it out of certain areas. So I'm going to increase my flow, and I'm going to paint with black over like her nose and her lips, because I don't want the clouds to be visible in those areas. And also just refine the edges a little bit, so somewhere around here. I don't want the clouds in there so much. I'm also going to paint it out of her eyes and a little bit out of her eyebrows and her forehead area. I'm gonna go to her ears and also paint it out of here, and paint it out of her earrings just a little bit, and just come down to her neck. I'm also gonna paint it out of here just a tiny bit. You can see I'm not painting all the way to the edge, but I'm just painting it to make it a little bit crisp, but also just allowing a little bit of the clouds to, you know, show through and help with the blending. So something like this is gonna work really well for me. So you can see all this is non-destructive, and you can always come back and adjust it to your liking. So Alt, click on the layer mask again, and you can see the adjustments I made have been updated, and you can see that it's affecting our image just the way we want it. All right, now what I also want to do is, I can see that this area is a little bit too dull, because if I look at the layer mask, you can see it's not pure white. So what I want to do now is just click B on my brush tool and change my blending mode from normal to overlay, and I'm going to paint with white. And what this is going to do is, anywhere that is supposed to be bright, it's just going to increase the brightness in that area. You can see it's made it really bright, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to reduce my flow to about 50% and also bring my opacity down to about 50%, and then just painting a little bit right here, just around the edges, so it makes the cloud a little bit more visible in those areas. All right, so just like that. And the reason why I changed my blending mode to overlay is, you can see even though I selected a white brush and I'm painting, when I go over the black area, it's not painting white on those black areas. So the overlay blend mode just makes me restrict the painting into the whites, right? So when I paint, once I've selected white and I paint on the white area, it's only going to affect the white area. If I change it to black and I paint inside, it's only going to affect the black areas. And that's what the overlay does. All right, so I'm just going to paint black just to increase the contrast a tiny bit, just like that. And I'm not being too careful because I know that I'm not going to paint black onto the white. I'm being restricted because of the overlay blend mode. All right, I'm going to press Alt and click back on my layer mask, and you can see that these are the adjustments that we've made. Everything is still intact. We can go back and even adjust the brightness of the sky, so we can make it brighter if we want it to be a little bit brighter. We can increase the contrast as well, but I'm just going to reset everything because I don't want it to be too bright. So somewhere around here works well. All right, now what I want to do is adjust the blue, the hue of the blue. I'm just going to create a hue adjustment and go into blues. And now when I start moving the slider around, you can see that it's changing the blues, but it's also affecting the blues in her outfit, and we don't want that. I just want it to affect the sky. So I'm just going to press Alt, hover around the line that separates the hue and the sky, and just click. So it's going to make it a clipping mask, and you can see now the adjustment is only affecting the sky, but this is not what we want. I just exaggerated it so you guys can see the effect. All right, so I'm going to go back into blues, and now I'm just going to move it to a color that I like. So just moving a little bit to the right, and I'm going to desaturate it a tiny bit and also reduce the lightness just a little bit like that. All right, I'm also going to add a curves and also add a clipping mask, and then just increase the contrast in there just like that. So just a slight S-curve. When I close a group and do a before and after, you can see that we've been able to add a sky with these simple steps, and it looks believable. It looks organic actually. Now the last thing I want to do is just put a noise filter on everything. So I'm just going to come here and run my noise filter and just place that over the image and make it look a little bit more organic. So what I want to do now is just increase the pixels of the noise to like 150. And I'm going to fit the screen. So this is before, and this is our after. You can see we've added a sky into this image and given it a brand new feel without even leaving the studio, and that's the power of this brand new Photoshop 2021 sky replacement tool. So that's it for today, guys. Check out this brand new sky replacement tool inside Adobe Photoshop 2021. I can't wait to see what you guys do with your images. You can tag me on Instagram, and also leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one, and remember, don't ever give up.